Right. We're live. So, Louis, thank you so much for taking the time to get together with me today.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I just want to spend, about 10, 15 minutes unpacking your journey. And I want to set the stage by saying the reason that I invited you is because you're fucking awesome. I just have so much love for you, man.
Thank you.
You and I first connected. It was only about 6 months ago, maybe
March, yeah.
March or so. Yeah, it's November now.
Mhm.
Um, and you and I first connected around the Authentic Dating Secrets program, and we had conversation about it, and you were interested and joined. And we had maybe like one or two other conversations offline. And I guess before I go too in depth, I just want to start with unpacking a little bit about where you were at
Mhm.
in March when we connected for the first time. And I'd love to hear your version of it.
Yeah, well, I had been avoiding relationships for almost 3 years. I had a very traumatic relationship 3 years ago, and I worked on myself a lot. And I guess it was great. It was great to be by myself, but I um, also can see a place where I started to be avoiding. I was avoidant of relationships. I was just scared of intimacy and being close to someone. And yeah, in March, I was in that place where I just wanted to stop doing that, and I wanted to connect with people again. And I started, reading and consuming more content about approaching women and just doing more work on myself regarding dating. And that's how I found you guys. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
guess I was insecure. I wasn't sure how to start. I felt like approaching women was not good. That they were gonna scream if I did it, and um, yeah, I was also looking at a pattern where I tended to be in relationships with people that just I just felt like I was kind of settling in relationships, not really striving for the best. Um, and so yeah, I wanted to fix that.
yeah, and some of the I'll fill in a few other details that I remember. And if you expand on them, I would love to hear what you've got to say. I know some of the stuff we worked on also was just feeling attractive. Like you're a decent
Mhm.
looking guy, but you didn't really experience yourself that way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just basic body image stuff. I just didn't think. I didn't think I was ugly, but I didn't think I was like, I just really didn't like my appearance that much.
And tell me if this lands as accurate. It feels to me like there was kind of a sense of what do I have to offer in terms of attractiveness.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and when you stepped into conversation with me, what in that moment, in that consciousness that you were at in the moment, what did you want? Uh, Why
In
did
a
you and I get
relationship.
on the phone in the first place? Just in terms of when you got onto a phone call with me for a reason, and it was because you wanted something in that moment. What would you have said that it was that you wanted?
Um, I wanted to find someone who can meet me, who I can be intimate with, and just have a beautiful relationship. Just just I could feel my heart being closed, and like I could feel that I wasn't happy and that I was just yeah, avoiding people.
Mhm.
And I wanted to find a sweetheart to share my time with so I can have fun, but also just go deeper in my practice, go deeper in my awakening and in my life together.
And as I recall, there was also at the moment some confusion about what you wanted. Maybe that was what you wanted in your heart, but there were some layers of
Right.
confusion. Do I want to date around and date multiple women? I think that was going on for you at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. Definitely, I just felt blocked, and I was so blocked that I didn't know what I wanted.
Mm.
And so I guess yeah, the first call, my intent, my like most superficial intent was to just like go for it, open myself up, be able to be great with women. I just wanted to be great with women and just be able to really master the art of being able to relate with women in a good way, in a respectful way, and in a loving way, and in a charming way. And so that's what I wanted to open first in myself to then kind of be able to decide with more experience what I want.
Yeah. And I recall that this was right as COVID-19 was starting, but you were on the dating apps and getting kind of mediocre results, as I recall.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, you know, my I guess my profile wasn't that good, and it was just like validating this story that I was telling myself about. Well, I can't really get the nice girls anyway, you know, like it's just the way it is. And once I started shifting that with
Well,
you,
yeah, before we
yeah,
go there, just what were
okay.
your matches like? Like, were you going on dates? What was?
Um, I mean, I had matches, but they were not very exciting, and I felt like um, I was chatting with a few, and I had a few dates, but I felt like I was selling myself short,
Mm,
and just like I was in that scarcity mindset, kind of just like taking it because that's all I could find.
mm. Yeah, and I know that we had even just one early conversation, like a 30-minute conversation, and talked about you owning your value, about your sense of attractiveness. And
Hmm.
I just recall you came back 2 minutes later and you gave me a screenshot and you were like, actually, maybe I'll, as you're talking, I'll go find it and we can screen share it for a moment because I love that screenshot. But you came back like 2 weeks later and you're like, Robert, look at my matches. And you showed me, and you were going on dates, and you had had a pretty long dry spell at that moment too. I think it had been like a year and a half since you
Something
had had
like that, yeah.
sex. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, and that's also because I didn't want to have sex with just anyone. I just didn't want to settle for something less than what I knew in my heart I could access. But yeah, what happened during those 2 weeks, I guess, is that after our conversation, I started just owning my value and my attractiveness more. And I just completely changed my profile. I completely changed my pictures. I completely changed my bio. I was just much more sure of myself in the pictures and in the bio, in the way I express myself. And it was like magic, like crazy. Like overnight, I just started having all those matches of like completely different women that I just found much more attractive, much more exactly. You have the picture.
You said, hi, just one more thank you. Since our call, I worked on my self-image, updated my profile pics with more vulnerability and self-love. Yesterday, I spent the day at the beach with a date, then came home and it hit me that now most of my matches are hot.
Exactly, and it's the vulnerability and the self-love, you know. And the pictures, I guess, I like was more sure of myself. It probably helps, but like it's magic. It's obvious if you think about it. Like women, whatever the level of attractiveness, they care about men who who have self-love, and so yeah, it gives you an edge if you can develop that in yourself.
Yeah, and I know that like we did work also. This is something I work on with a lot of guys. Also, is personally as well as in the authentic dating secrets journey, is they're holding back. They're like, I either don't know what I. Most guys like they want something, but they don't even fully let themselves want it.
Hmm.
And you wanted to date women and become confident with women and have experiences with women and have sexual experiences with women, like a whole range
Hmm.
of experiences, like you were saying, that also felt right to you. You didn't want to just go have like disconnected hookup sex.
Yeah.
And I know that one of the things we worked on was just this honesty around what you wanted. And I believe you updated your profile and you kind of put your truth more out front. And I'm curious how that felt initially to lead with the vulnerability.
Right. Well, so yeah, it felt vulnerable. So what my truth was is I felt this impulse to just like be much more open sexually. And so I just put in my bio very honestly, I want to explore my sexuality in a conscious way with someone who wants to do the same thing, something along those lines. And
Do you recall what you had on your profile before?
I like say like kind of like what I like to do like as passion, work and stuff, but I didn't say what I wanted.
Yeah, and
Um,
I want to make this point because
yeah.
I think this is a common thing for a lot of guys. Are like, I like, here's the activities that I like doing. I want to have fun with somebody. I know there's a lot of women on dating profiles have their version of it too. They're like long walks on the beach, glass of wine. I want my partner to travel around the world with. But I look at that, I'm like, well, who the fuck are you really? What do you really want? And you really made that shift from kind of surface level stuff that probably 90% of the other guys are leading with in their dating profiles also, to something real and true that was, I'm hearing, was scary for you to put out front, but it was honest also.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is just like the entry point, the dating profile. There's a lot of programs and services out there that help guys upgrade their dating profiles. But when you have the first date with the woman, if you're not embodying what you're transmitting, you know, I know that you were actually creating some really beautiful connections with women that were honest and real and powerful and confident and vulnerable at a whole new level, that you weren't just, didn't have some profile and then you're like, what do I do with her now? So trying to talk about what it was like engaging with these women at a new level of consciousness and embodiment for you.
Yeah, you know, like I just went on more and more dates, and the more I went on dates, the more I started to just see the women I was seeing as human beings. And it sounds crazy to say that, but like culturally, like at least I'm gonna speak for myself and own that, I was just objectifying women.
And were you kind of putting them above you as like she's
yeah, on a pedestal? And so I didn't think I was doing something wrong, because when you objectify a woman and you put her down, it's like, oh, that's wrong. But when you objectify her and you put her up, it doesn't feel wrong, but it still is. And so yeah, more and more I just started just feeling much more, not friendly, because there was still, you know, you want tension when you date someone, but there was much more interest in them as a human being. And it just started to feel fun. It started to feel fun. I mean, I went on many, many dates because it became like an activity, and it was COVID, and it was fun to meet people, you know, and I just became fascinated about just meeting people and learning about their stories. And I mean, most of the time, obviously nothing happened. I would be like, no, I'm not interested, but you're a super fun person, and I had a lot of fun, you know? So it was really nice to connect with people at that level of just like having fun, having a good time, not having expectations.
And before, when you went on a date, would there have been a like, oh, I want to try to get sex from this, or?
I've always been, I think, quite like conservative with my sexuality. I don't like hooking up with people. I'm just not like that. But no, I think I would have felt more tension. Like, oh my God, she's my date. Like, what if I screw this up? Like, what's gonna happen? You know? Okay. But
like performance anxiety, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And it started to shift much more towards, yeah, here's a person, here's a human being. Let's dance together.
Yeah, and you were having more fun, and I know that when I'm having more fun, when you're having more fun, that women feel that, and they relax, and they feel, you know, this is the third pillar of authentic dating, which is understand her world. And it's this idea that when women feel safe, something different happens in the relational space. And when you're showing up having fun and relaxed and not anxious, women, you know, the woman feels safer, and something different happens on that date.
Absolutely. They feel safe when you're not trying to make them feel safe.
Yeah. And so we've kind of hit it in certain ways, but what are some of the fundamental shifts that you made that allowed you to be safe rather than perform safe?
Just loving myself. And it happened through the triggers of going on the dates, seeing my stuff come up, and just processing that. There is no way to avoid that. I had to process it by going through it.
Yeah.
And I love embarrassing dates.
And I'd love to hear how your journey with myself and Joshua Authentic Dating Secrets supported your ability to process that and grow and deepen. Yeah,
well, I mean, what I really loved about the program was the communication in between the calls, because the calls were great. Obviously, it's, you know, always I learned a lot in each of the calls, but the ability to share on Marco Polo or WhatsApp what was coming through, and then have you guys reflect and have the other guys as well in the group reflect was gold. You know, for me, it was really amazing to be able to, it felt like having like a whole team, a whole like crew behind me, like supporting me and cheering me up and like helping me look at myself while holding me in a very loving container.
Mm.
So yeah, it was definitely instrumental to me just like processing those things in a healthy way.
And I think there's a lot of guys out there. There's a couple things coming to mind. There are a lot of guys out there who feel shame around revealing how much they struggle or where their self-worth is actually at. And
Mm-hmm.
then there are also guys out there, to a group of guys like you're talking about, you're being vulnerable with this whole group of men and letting yourself be engaged with them. And then there's also guys out there who kind of are not, I don't quite want to use the word broken, but I know that's a thing for some guys. But there's a lot of guys out there who want more in their love lives, but don't quite believe that they can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's just something about what you were saying around revealing and sharing yourself and letting yourself be in process with a group of men. I'm curious what you would say to a guy who wants but doesn't quite believe that he can have what he wants.
Um, it's tricky because you can't make someone change or believe anything. It has to come from the inside. And yeah, I guess I just want to encourage the inner knowing that we can do those things. It takes faith, it takes just like believing in ourselves. And it's I think it's important to see the places where our skepticism is actually just avoidance of
Mm.
ourselves, and often that's what comes up when we talk about healing modalities, whatever the topic is. It's like often we are skeptical because we're afraid of what's going to come up, and it's actually a good sign. If you're afraid, it shows that a lot of things are going to come up and you're going to heal a lot and you're going to grow a lot.
Mm.
And so I think it's a good sign if someone is skeptical.
And then it just becomes a question of, am I willing to reveal all of that and really allow myself to get in there and work with it and
Mm-hmm.
metabolize all of the funky stuff and allow that to be transformed into man mojo.
Yeah, and I want to say that you guys did an amazing job at really holding the container in a very loving way. I mean, it felt very safe to be very vulnerable, and that's all that you need in these kinds of containers.
Yeah. And you said something else that is important, which is you or I can't make anybody believe something different than what they're believing in the moment. Um, and there's a really useful point of reflection there, which is my experience of you when you came in is there was some stuff you were working through for sure, but you were hungry. And I imagine that you spoke a little bit to the painfulness of the journey that had preceded you and I meeting. And I imagine that you really came to us, I think, at a point of readiness, which is, in my experience, a lot of the guys who get the best results are the guys who come in. They're like, I've suffered enough. I've done, things a certain way for long enough. I've been in my own process long enough, and I'm ready to really have things be different now. Really ready.
Yeah.
Does that does does that match your experience of you back then of like ready and hungry?
Absolutely. I mean, I contacted you, and I think it was like 6 weeks before the program starts, and I told you, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I want to move now. So I asked you if you had any tips, any exercises for me to do during the 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I love that screenshot that I showed happened before the program ever even started. And I'm like, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on, is because you have just gone after, you were so hungry to grow and transform that you're getting extraordinary results before the program even started. I'm like, what a better success story than that?
Yeah, it felt amazing. I mean, I think I've always had some shyness around me growing up, and to be able to just like compliment people and talk to women like that was just like, even before having any results or anything, that was a result in itself. Just being
Yeah.
able to feel okay within myself and free to express myself.
Well, and I'm curious, there's something that can happen for guys who join the program, which is that even if the program hasn't begun yet, simply making that commitment to themselves can change something inside. Did you have any kind of an experience like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just like everything, like walking out, like, yeah. Um, Definitely shifting my perception from like, oh, I'm going to be alone forever to like, oh, okay, I can make this happen.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean it's a way of really concretizing one's belief in oneself. I can say that I want this and that I want that, and the question is, well, what am I actually going to do about it? And the full training is not a small commitment. It takes money, it takes energy, it takes a willingness. You got to be willing to look at your shit,
Mm-hmm.
and be confronted and to grow and change. It takes investment, and say kind of putting the stake in the ground and being like, I'm fucking ready to do that, can be a powerful moment in and of itself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and to be supported doing it as well. It
Yeah.
just forces you to not give up. Some weeks we had our calls, and I was like, I don't want to take care of my dating life this week. I have other things to do, but it forces you to stay on track.
Yeah.
So that was really important. Yeah.
And one of the elements of the program is buddy calls. Where did you find the buddy calls useful in staying on track in that kind of a way?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really, really awesome. Yeah, we did 1 hour calls every week, and it was really incredible to just reflect to each other. And also realize that other guys, I mean, we're pretty much all going through the same things at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah. Really
Yeah, it kind of has you feel less alone.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad you're mentioning that, because a lot of guys, there is a sense of isolation or aloneness oftentimes. Even if I'm talking to another guy about it, there's still these like layers of isolation that I know for me personally and for men that we work with, that are, it's like a lifelong journey to break down that sense of isolation. And but letting those walls get broken down is really powerful.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's get to the best part. What's going on in your love life right now as we speak?
Well, right at the end of the program, my last date was the last one. Yeah, I just met this amazing woman who has been an amazing source of joy and love for the past 3 months. And I can definitely credit a lot of what I learned with you as the source of like how I got to that point. And yeah, it was really funny because I just came to the date, and I was really like, I wasn't really interested. I mean, I was interested, but I had no expectations at all. And I was just feeling good, feeling myself. And it went really good. And she's actually 12 years older than me. So it was a long shot, but somehow it worked out. And yeah, I don't know what to say. You know, it's just been amazing. She's really, she knows how to meet me. She's really good at really honoring me and just like making me feel like a man. And that is amazing. That's amazing to have this type of polarity. I'm really grateful for it. And I've been really deepening in our relationship, the polarity, and like discovering what's my role as a man and how I can take care of her as a woman. And just playing, dancing like that. And it's been really incredible and life-changing. This relationship in just 3 months has been incredibly transformative. And I definitely see how I got here through this program. And yeah, I'm beyond grateful.
And is what you learned in because the program's about dating, but is what you learned in the program and in your dating life applicable to being in this deep dive with this one woman?
Absolutely, because obviously, like, I didn't learn through the program how to date people, because that's not real. What's real is how to be with someone. And if you can be with someone in a good way, then you succeed at your dates, because that's what dates are about. We look at each other's ability to be with each other. So yeah, it would be hard to like find specific things that have been helpful, but I guess just my overall ownership of myself, of my worth, of my value, and of what I can bring to a woman is what allowed me to be in this relationship. and the layer of respect and reverence towards women, almost devotion, is also what has been allowing me to really show up for her in a good way and make her feel like a queen.
And she makes you feel like a king in return, it sounds like. Yeah, that's incredible, man. Well, Louis, thank you so much for spending this time to talk. Is there anything else that you feel like would be good or helpful to speak to before we wrap up here?
No, I think we said it all. I think it's to the people who are listening to that and are wondering if they should join. I think yeah, it's important to believe in yourself and believe in the potential for your dating life to flourish, and for that aspect of your life to then ripple to all the other aspects of your life. I think dating is a really important aspect of our lives. That relationships really forge us and help us heal ourselves. So.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we've heard that from other students before, that the rest of their life is deeply impacted as well. It's that you can't develop confidence and relaxedness and self-knowing in one area and not have that impact all the other parts too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, beautiful, Louis. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm such a fan of you. You're incredible. And hopefully some guys listening are getting some insights and some wisdom and maybe even just some deeper belief in themselves and that they can have what they want. So
yeah, I hope so too.
All right. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.